And welcome back to the channel, guys. What a weekend that was for Barça, and what a performance it was against Elche on Sunday. 5-star Barça, and we're going to be talking all about it here today, reacting to the match, looking at the finer details, discussing everything that's gone on, not only in terms of La Liga, the action that we've seen not only from Barça as well, but our title rivals, but aside from all of that, there's also been so much happening on the transfer side of things. We have to talk again about Alejandro Balde. He was nowhere to be seen at the weekend, excluded from the Barca squad. What is happening with him right now? And there's also Julian Alvarez, who received a horrific welcome by Atletico Madrid fans. The whistles were unbelievable. We're going to be talking about his situation and how this could now change in the coming days. It is all on the way. Get comfortable. Get ready. Because let's do this. Because can I just start, guys, by saying that a lot of the match reaction, the immediate match reaction will actually be coming this season the day after games. And I know that's not, maybe ideal or what we're used to here on the channel. But the truth is, I've done this for many, many years, always reacting immediately after games. But, the games have got later. The games have got longer. I have gotten older. And when you have a family, you've got to try and have a good schedule, a good sleeping schedule. So what we're going to be doing is reacting always to everything the day after in full, going through everything, having time really to think about what we've seen and really evaluate things properly. Maybe not being overly emotional. Let's wait and see how that goes. But yeah, I appreciate all the support. And now we're going to talk about everything we saw from the weekend's action. Because let's talk about Real Madrid. First of all, I think it's interesting to see what they did against Espanyol. Because first of all, I was massively surprised to see Espanyol trying against Real Madrid. They actually put up a decent fight. Espanyol wanted to win this game against Madrid. What's happened there? Something has changed for sure. But yeah, I would say Real, they were extremely unconvincing at this stage of the season. I'm still not really sure what the idea is, what exactly is the balance of the team. It still looks very, very off to me, and it may become more clear, as the weeks go on here. They've got a lot of new signings to sort of bed in, get comfortable with the Real Madrid setup, but I thought, yeah, against Espanyol, they were extremely lucky to win that game. They scraped through in the final moments, but can I just say, I think Carlos Espi, he is going to be key for them. I think that will go down as a very, very good and astute signing, exactly for the reason that we saw at the weekend. In the final moments of the game, he comes on, he's a leading 9. It's a scruffy winner, but that gets them 3 points. At the end of the day, he is the difference there between them drawing that game, starting the campaign badly, but he helped them win it. He was the reason there. The late goal, just being in the right place at the right time, gets them 3 points, and I think he is going to be a good signing. And Real Madrid just about get off the mark, which obviously, when it comes then to Barca, did put the pressure on a little bit. And when we're looking at the starting lineup from Hansi Flick, it was interesting to see, a little bit of experimentation, maybe. Yet again, we've got Xavi Espa moving around, isn't he? One minute he's at right back, then he's in midfield, then he's at left back. You've got to say about the young man, wherever he is brilliant. The way that he's been able to adapt to all of these different roles, all of these different positions in the team, that speaks of his quality. That speaks of his real talent there. So I was massively impressed with Xavi Espa. But I would say, guys, when the game started, I was a little bit nervous. Watching those opening exchanges, I think Elche were finding some good space there in between our midfield and our defence. And I think we really badly struggled for control in the opening stages of the game. I think the midfield balance, it was way off. We couldn't keep possession there. We couldn't string a few passes together in midfield. It was all a little bit disjointed. But I guess the good thing is, you're thinking, well, how can we improve that? How can we get better? Well, one, you've got Pedri to come back at full match sharpness. He's not there yet, and he will get there in the weeks to come. Oh, and you've also got a guy named Rodri. I think he's pretty good in midfield. I think he's going to help us control games. It's a nice situation to have here. So I think Barca will certainly get better in those areas. But one really good thing to bring you guys is Gavi. He went off yesterday. I think we all feared the worst, to be honest. Even Flick on the touchline, his face almost went white, when he heard about Gavi's injury, when he spoke there with the physio. I think he was massively worried because it was that same knee that he's had so many problems with. But the brilliant news is, it's just a knock. It was just a little bit of bruising in the end that kept Gavi out of this game and took him off. He's going to be back imminently, and he's going to be back training with the group very, very soon indeed. So that is absolutely massive. I think Lamine Yamal, I think we've got to talk about him a little bit because obviously he went off after 65 minutes. he wasn't happy. You know, he never is happy to go off, which in one way, it's a good thing. You know, you want players to want to be out there. If he's thinking, oh yeah, I'm happy to come off after an hour, I don't really mind, you don't want him to have that mentality. You want him to want to be out there. You want him to want to always be involved. You know, that's great to see from the young man. But obviously it wasn't his night. You know, he had an early chance, you know, Blaze won over the bar. I think Flick was pretty disappointed about that there when he was one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But, you know, look, with Yamal, he's going to get better. You know, it's not as though we've got a crisis situation with Yamal. We said before, it's going to take a few games here. You know, you need more training sessions under your belt. You need more matches here. These are players who've hardly had any pre-season at all. It will come. And it will happen soon for him, no question about that. I think it was also very interesting to see Karim Adeyemi starting this game. I wasn't expecting that, you know, I thought it was going to be Gordon starting on the left-hand side, but Adeyemi getting the nod from Flick, and I thought it was a really interesting performance from him, because if you look at the goal, again, we're winning the ball back nice and high up the field. It's one quick pass there into the forward line, and they do move it on very, very quickly, you know, quick decision-making. That's what we want to see from Barca there, and that's what you get with that front line being so fluid, you know, good on the ball. They've all got pace about them. You can move quickly. You can be devastating there with just a few passes. So Adeyemi is through on goal, and it is a great finish. You've got to say, he gets that chance. He dispatches it so well indeed. And I think you see a lot of the promise of Adeyemi. You see a lot of the potential there. And I think Flicker's got a player here that he can definitely work with. And I think that's why we signed Adeyemi. And it was a decent price. It was a good option this summer to bring him in. I think there's a few things about his game that he will obviously need to improve. You know, looking at yesterday, I think he gave the ball away so often. Too often, to be perfectly honest with you. And in dangerous areas as well. And at Barca, you've got to be careful with that. Especially in this system. You do have to take care of the ball.